Welcome to my review of the stock market today. The Nasdaq you're looking at here is, well, first of all, today's Monday, October 27th. You're looking at a daily chart of the Nasdaq, which it was up 432 points, or was it 1.86%? I want to close in here because you can see the gap day here on Friday. I know a lot of people thought that was like call it like an island top where they thought it was going to pull back, and it could have pulled back. We got some news over the weekend and it gapped higher today, so we got a gap on gap here. And the index went up to what, 23,658 was the high water mark. So that's some good cocktail information, which we have a lot of cocktail information today regarding the indexes. This is an all-time high for the Nasdaq, all-time high closing. You could see the volume was 14% above the average volume, but I want to point out that it's now 6.1% above the 50. And we know from, doing this a long time that when the Nasdaq gets over 6% above the 50, it usually gets a little wonky. Yeah, it could go higher. Sure, it could go higher this week. We got Jerome Powell, likely cutting interest rates. We got a lot of earnings reports to get through. And so it's likely to pull back at some point, but, also could go much higher and, get 8, 9, even 10% above that 50. But for right now, it closed 3.7% above the 21, 6.1% above the 50. And I've got to remain bullish with all these indexes hitting, their all-time high. Speaking of cocktail information, you can certainly impress your friends and say that not only did the S&P close at an all-time high, it's the first time it closed over 6,800. I bet your friends don't know that. Not that it matters, not that it matters at all. It's just making new highs, and new highs in the indexes are super bullish, and you can't get anything more bullish than the Dow, the S&P, and the Nasdaq making new highs. This is a Dow closing at 47,544, so it's up a three-quarters of a percent today. We know what's driving, when you see these indexes, the S&P and the Dow and the Nasdaq, we know what's driving it. It's these Mag 7 stocks. This is Apple breaking out of that base. Now, I had it on our ready list last week, but I took it off because they were going to report earnings this week. And, I've been burned so many times holding stocks into earnings. It's worse than a coin flip for me. I just have bad luck. So I just like to use calls, and that way I can limit my damage, just bet what I'm willing to afford to lose, and let it be. Microsoft, another one, when the Microsoft is up, a point and a half, 1.5%, I should say. And NVIDIA, the largest company of these, 4.6 trillion market cap, going up nearly 3%. That's going to move the indexes. Meta had a big day today too, as well, up nearly 2%. Google, I think, was the star performer, either Google or Tesla. Yeah, nice gap higher, up nearly 4% for, Alphabet. And you could say that this is a little base here at 256, broke above that on Friday. It's a nice little consolidation pattern here. Or if you're, a Darvis type trader, you could say that's a Darvis box. And now, what's in the box? Not Alphabet. Alphabet's out of the box. Also, IBM, this is one that I told you the story about how I traded it last week on, this wonky move here on Thursday down to its 50, then a big run up Friday, and now, making new highs today. So congrats to the longs there at IBM. Yeah, that's a classic cup with handle pattern, and now breaking higher. So yeah, IBM looks good. And also Netflix. Yay. Charlie Munger's the guy who says you can buy or you can beat the indexes just buying quality stocks at the 200. I doubt if Netflix is going to be here very long, but we'll see. Anyway, that's it for those big cap tech stocks, I believe. Nope, I'm wrong. Qualcomm made an announcement today, and this kind of drove the semiconductors. Some of the competition sold off for a little bit, but this is, how shall I say this delicately? It's a big announcement for Qualcomm, but it's not going to really add that much to their earnings for at least another, 4 quarters or so. It's 1 to 2 years out of this data center rack that they have. So Qualcomm was strong all day, but if we look at AMD, which is, competition, let me see, I'm going to have to go to a 5-minute chart here. So it ran up, and then the news came and it kind of sold off. Anyway, profit taking, right? and then ran up into the close. AMD, super strong name. Yeah, it was 260. Yeah, 259.67. That's fine. So a nice day for AMD. What else we have? Oh, ARM had news today too. I forget what it was. There's too much going on. But anyway, here's your classic, to me, this is a classic cup with handle pattern. The pattern that's picking this up is just consolidation. But to me, this is like, your cup, and then here's your, I don't know, about 7 or 8 or 10 days, handle type of pattern here, cup with handle, and now popped higher, nearly 5% today. So ARM looks good. Just a lot of these semiconductor names look pretty good today. ASML, this has got a monopoly on the equipment space. The certain niche market that they have was up nearly 3%. Applied Materials, I put this one on the ready list today. Yeah, it made a new high. It's fine. It looks okay to me. Yeah, I mean, it was just up 1%, couple of bucks. Not bad. All right. Let's move on from the semiconductor names, I think. Yeah. Some of the stocks, and I put this one on my ready list last week, formed this cup with handle pattern. I wanted to put it on this week, but once again, earnings are coming up, and it popped 3.5% today off that 50 here. So that's another textbook, to me, like it says flat base, and it is because it's less than 15% depth in the base, but that's a cup with handle as well. You got this 5 day shakeout, which forms a handle and pops right at the moving average. That's textbook stuff for ALNY. Oh, geez, Marty, bury the lead. Yeah, RNA, Avidity Biosciences was bought out today by Novartis. You can see it way up here. That's a big gap. Congrats to the longs there. Closed up 42%, $70. HOLX is another one that was bought out last week, I believe. Yeah, last week, and it's just flatlining. And so this is what we're seeing in the biotech, the drug space, is that these big heavy hitters with a lot of ammunition are getting the bazookas out, and they're buying these smaller, more speculative biotech names, and that's good for the sector as a whole. I'm going to go to one of the other ones that I like here, INSM. Yeah. Pull back to the 21, found support and bounce. That's what you want to see when a stock pulls back. Where is it finding support? At the 5, the 10, the 21, the 50? They're going to find support somewhere, hopefully, unless they're going out of business. But this one found support and bounced. They're going to report this week as well. So you really have to be careful of when your your company is reporting earnings, this week or next week. There's a ton of S&P 500 companies reporting, the majority of them. And then QURE, another medical biotech stock. You can see this group right here is a top 10 group. It's ranked 7 out of 197. And this one formed that little flag pattern here, which has been, super successful recently in this current market. Here we go. There's your flag here, your pole, and then your flag. And, popped higher today, 11, over 11% for QURE, Unicure. All right, so that looks pretty good for that group. I've got to go to this group here. Yeah, GLW. They report in the morning, and these guys make the glass for the iPhone 17. I think they're going to have a good report. There's been stories about Apple. There's 87, 78, or just call it 88 bucks. There's stories about Apple, that's not selling well. The iPhone 17 is selling well. We're going to find out. This is a key into that, report for Apple on Thursday. These guys make the glass for iPhone 17. I think they're going to have a good report. I think they're going to blast out of this box above 90 bucks, probably 95 tomorrow. That's just my guess, if I had to make a wager one way or the other. But we're going to hear from them in the morning, so we just have to wait and see. Patience. But other stocks in this group showing strength. This is LITE, another one. Darvish traders would just be salivating over this one. It jumped out of the box on Friday. What's in the box? Not LITE. LITE's gone, up at 8% today, following up on a big move out of the box on Friday, which when it was up 6.5%. So strong move for Lumentum Holdings. And I drove by that place when I was in Silicon Valley. Not this trip, but the last time I was in California, I think it was in August. And I met a friend at Supermicro, and then I drove right by here. It's right next to Supermicro, and just something dawned on me. It's like, oh, Light, probably a good, stock. And it went from what? A hundred, when was this? Oh, July, it was July, it was July 22nd when I was there. So yeah, it's gone from what, 101 to 193. So did I buy it? No. But when you see signs, literally a sign, uh, you should probably act on it. Be aware of your surroundings. Anyway, another one in this group that I like that's been really performing really well is Sienna, obviously, right? I think the volume's okay. Just surfing the five here. Yeah, Sienna, very strong stock. Yeah, it got a little defensive last week. If you recall, the first part of last week, a lot of the growth names sold off a little bit, and they found support Thursday, Friday bounce, and today new highs for Sienna. And then AAOI, it's another one in this group. Yeah, why does it do that? AAOI. Touchy little computer here. Yeah, this one was up nearly 10% today, breaking out of this cup with handle pattern. Let's take a look at this on the weekly. Yeah, this nice little pattern here. Now it's breaking out to new 52-week highs, but not all-time highs. This was a $44.50 stock. So yeah, AAOI looks good. All right, so I'm going to move on to another group that, I put on the ready list this week. I don't know if it's ready or not. Palantir, I was expecting more today. It kind of popped a little bit here. Let's take a look at the 5-minute chart. I really thought it was going to run hard. Yeah, right out of the gate, it looked like it was going to run and then just kind of dud into the close. This thing's going to move when it wants to move. Still 2.5% move when the Nasdaq was up. It outperformed the Nasdaq. How about that? It's okay. Net. They're going to report Thursday. Man, a lot of companies reporting this week, still consolidating within this space. My gut feeling is this thing's going to make new high after earnings. It has had strong responses to earnings recently. I don't see why that would change for Cloudflare. Shopify, another stock that I like. I just, you can't kiss all the babies here. Just making new highs, looking really strong here. Shopify, congrats to the longs there. That thing's been a winner for a long time. App 11, after 3, 4, 5, 6 short reports, this thing just ripped higher, made a new high at 745, pulled back to the 50 now and bounced. It found support. Remember, I was saying last week there was a lot of weakness in these growth names last week, and this one found support. That's all you want to do is learn where your stock is finding support. This one found support at the 50 and bounced. Yeah, I see nothing wrong with App 11 up, nearly 4% today. Robinhood finally, once again, traded down to the 50, found support. And this is valuable information. Like last week, the beginning of the week was a little wonky. There was some selling here and distribution in these growth names. And this one pulled back to the 50, and it was up Thursday, up Friday, and once again today. So bouncing sharply off the 50. That's what you want to see for Robinhood, which is definitely a leading stock in this market. And I got to mention these two. I don't know why, but a lot of people like these. NBIS, pull back to the 50. This is classic, pull back and bounce. Had an inside day on Thursday. Friday popped nicely, 10%, followed through today with a 7% move. I wouldn't be surprised if it took out that 141.10 this week. And the other one is CoreWeave. Between these two, I like Nebius Group, but a lot of people like CoreWeave. I'm just something about this company. When I see the CEO pumping his company all the time, it really turns me off. But that's no reason to sell a stock or not own it. If it wants to go higher, I'm all for it. This one pulled back, kind of a cup with handle here, back to the 50, found support. Yeah, the CEO is always pumping the stock. I prefer, a little more quiet, reserved CEOs, not always worried about their stock price. Um, because their job as CEO is to run the business and produce and deliver the numbers and beat and raise every quarter. It's not their job to promote the stock and try to get it up, because I think conventional wisdom is that if you do your job, Wall Street will figure it out eventually, and the stock price will take care of itself. KDP, they reported this morning, strong move on this report here from Keurig Dr. Pepper, like I said, they bought Pete's Coffee for 18 billion. Pete's only has like 300 stores in the United States, and they have 8 billion in revenues. Pete's has other brands besides just their coffee. But anyway, up nearly 8% here on Keurig Dr. Pepper. And when I think of this, I got to go to Bros because if Pete's is worth 18 billion, I gotta believe Bros is worth, I don't know. It's just growing a lot faster than these other companies. So if you're a growth stock investor, you like to see this growth profile, but you don't like to see the fact that it hasn't been rewarded since the Liberation Day here on April 7th. I'll just say about Bros that made that low of 47.26 on April 7th, right? I believe it was April 7th. Yeah. And it just, undercut it by a dime. It's funny how this stuff happens on October 8th. And since October 8th, this thing has been, rallying up through now. It's 50, and you can see this five here is about ready to rally through this red line, which is the 50, and then this magenta line is the 21, and it's curling up. So you're starting to look at a decent uptrend here off this double bottom base for Dutch Bros. Obviously, I'm biased because I like Dutch Bros, and I think it's a real well-run quality company, and I like growth, and I like retail. But it hasn't performed. So I still hold it. Yeah, of course I hold it, and I think it's a long-term hold, but it's setting up in a nice double bottom base, and we'll see what happens. They're going to report earnings on November 5th. And the last one I want to talk about in retail is Estee Lauder. This one's really made a great turnaround here. You can see the stage four decline forever and ever and ever. Understandable, during the bear market of 22, but in 23 and in 24, 25, when the market's rallying, this thing was just dying. And finally, kind of figured it out, right? And it started this stage one base here, and now it's rallied up into what I would call a stage two advanced phase here, breaking out of this base at 95.47. So Estee Lauder, you see, the Christmas is coming up, and you're not gonna, I don't know. My dad always told me don't, don't bet against the vanity, of people, okay? Because we like to, look good, smell good, whatever. And so anyway, I don't want to get sexist here. My dad was old school. How about that? I could blame it on him. All right. All this data center stuff, all this flying machine, all this robot stuff, nothing's going to happen without energy. And, this is going to be a bottleneck. NVIDIA can sell the GPUs they want, and AMD and all these companies, and it's not going to matter if they don't have the energy to drive these data centers. And that's why I think, of course, Oklo has been a big winner for a long time. And I could go through all these companies here. Bloom reports tomorrow after the close. Of course, there's going to be profit taking. These things are up a massive amount, 1,000% for Bloom. LEU, these energy companies up just a ton. And then same with IREN and CIFR. So if they don't go up, and I heard some people complaining, what's wrong with Irene today? Oh my gosh, this thing, it was down for a little bit, I guess. I guess they expected more, but gosh, it closed at 65 today. This thing's been up. It went from like $5 here, last when we got liberated, I guess. Yeah, April, 5 to 65. Come on, folks. I mean, give it a break. No, I wouldn't be surprised if it pulled back to its 50 or its 200. I mean, that's stocks do that. But I will say, nothing is going to get done without the power from all these companies. GEV, I think NEE today was got a deal with Google, I believe. Yeah, this is a slower moving, utility, kind of a widow's company that pays you 3% to hold it. A lot of these utilities are just that people buy them for their dividend. They're not going to be moving like OKLO. So you got to know what you own there. All right. That's it for me. Thank you for watching at mcstockcharts.com. We never give up, ever, ever, ever. Don't you ever think about it. Don't let that negative thought into your mind. Always be positive. Think positive, be positive. Positive things happen to positive people. I've seen it all my life. Anyway, CLS. Oh, I could tell you a story. I digress. I was on a baseball team one year. We were 5 games out of first place with 6 games to play, and this is in college. And we went in and we swept the team, and the other team that we were chasing lost three in a row. So we were only two back going into a three-game series with them, and we swept them and won the conference. So don't ever give up. You got to be positive. Five games back with six to play, and you become champs. Not bad. All right. Celestica, this one reported fantastic earnings, accelerating, and it wasn't just last quarter that they beat the estimates, on the revenue and the earnings side, but they raised a significant amount. I think 10% on earnings and 10% on sales for the next quarter and the next year. So the raise is what's going to move this stock to new highs. Today it hit a new high of 314.29. Looks like it might open tomorrow above 325, 330. So congrats to the longs there. This has been a fantastic stock. And this is not going to hurt that group, that's in with Sanmina and Flex. These guys should all be up on that report. Yeah. And then JBL, another one. Not doing anything. Come on. Get with the program. And then Fabrinet not doing anything. All right. I digress. CDNS. They reported this is a software designed for semiconductors, and was up after hours, and now it's down 2%. So you never know what they say on the call. I don't know. It was up, now it's down. So I'll have to look into the report. All right, who else do we have? Oh, this one, this one surprises me. Avis up 5% after hours on their report. Not bad. It's a nice little consolidation pattern here. Following, it looks like probably last quarter's earnings, it sold off 15%. And now looks like it's going to rally back above its 50. NXPI, not a great quarter here. I read the thing. It was kind of flat. I guess it's all about the expectations and going forward, but the report was kind of like in line. So I'll have more in the morning on that one. Rambus reported tonight. I did not see the report on this one. Yeah, down 8%. So we'll see in the morning. AMKR reported as well. Yeah, nothing. And then Waste Management. Yay. As long as they come pick up my trash, I'm happy with this company. Down 2%. This is kind of a proxy for our construction and building in, well, it's a global company, but pretty much in the United States, right? Um, anyway, we'll see what they have to say. I'll have more in the morning on those companies' reports, and we have a bunch more tomorrow morning. The one that I'm really looking forward to is Corning to see what they have to say. Anyway, that's it for me. Thank you for watching at mcstockcharts.com. We never give up.